All right, for part 3 in this glazing video series, I'm going to do brushing. How do you brush glaze onto a pot? So I'm going to take this pot right here. It's a nice bowl. It's got some wood texture on it. And I'm going to brush it with this glaze. There you go. It's going to be blue. It will appear red, but it will change in the kiln as a chemical reaction. In our studio, we have these little cylinders hanging on a shelf in front of glazes. These are test tiles. These show what the glaze looks like after it's been fired. So when this one gets brushed on, it's going to look red, but when it gets fired, it will come out looking like that. There is a picture which gives you somewhat of an idea of what it looks like, but this is another guide, and it may be more accurate because it's on the specific clay body in this specific studio. So we do not have a bucket of this, so I'm going to brush it. To brush it, I have a banding wheel or decorating wheel. Got a bunch of stuff in the way. I've got my bowl. I have this lovely soft bristle brush with bamboo handle. I've got my jar of glaze. With any glaze, when it was in the bucket, we stir it up. When it's in a jar, make sure the lid is on tightly. That one just turned. So make sure the lid is on, keep your finger over it, and you can shake it up. I have been a victim of having a jar that has not had the lid attached, shaking it up and having it go all over me. It's ruined a pair of pants. It's not great. There's also been some other people working in the studio who have done that, and I've been splattered. It can also go over the floor. It's not cheap stuff. It's an expensive stuff, and let's not be wasteful. Let's not spill it. Keep your finger over it. Make sure it's on tight every time, every day. That's shaken up nicely. I'm only going to do the one glaze. I'm not going to mix glazes because when you mix them, it changes the chemistry and we don't really know what it looks like. So keep the glazes pretty pure. It's pretty liquidy in there. So I'm using my brush. I'm going to dip it right in. It's a clean brush, clean jar, one thing. That's it. No mixing. Let's see. How can we get you a better view? We'll start with the outside. Now I'm going to rotate the camera to the other side. Give me a moment. That's better. It's going to be, I'm right-handed, so you'll be able to better see. So dip the brush into the glaze and just lightly touch it, but there's a solid amount of glaze on there. And I'm going to try and do this pretty quickly so that it becomes more of an even coat. Make sure the bowl's solidly on that. Are you ready? All right. Here we go. Usually when you brush, you should do about 3 coats. But again, you're trying to get the certain thickness. It might be 2 thick coats. It might be 4 thin coats. It might be any number in between. I don't know. The only number between is 3. Yeah. So you can see it changing tone, changing color right before your eyes. And I'm putting it on pretty thickly. You can see that's already dried and soaked in. If you put it on thick, you have a better chance of spreading it while it's still a little wet and spreadable. Once it starts to dry, it doesn't spread. I know, you're thinking, didn't he show, isn't that supposed to be blue? That's a bright red. All right, so that's 1 coat. This is the 2nd coat. And it will turn blue. Just got to give it about 2200 degrees and some time in the kiln. And you notice I am not putting any on the bottom, and that's just going to save me time when I go to clean up. So that's 2 coats. So you can see it's not quite drying as fast because there's more liquid inside. There's more liquid in the pot right now. But I'm going to go ahead and do that 3rd coat right now. Just big broad strokes. The bristles are very soft, so they don't leave many brush marks. And gives a nice, pretty nice even coat. Now that there are 3 coats on there, it is still pretty wet all around it. So we're just going to give that some time to dry. All right, let's let it dry. All right, so it's dry, pretty well dry. I'm going to take it now, flip it the other way, and do the same thing on the inside. And for a bowl, maybe I'll do it like this so you can see it. Still got my glaze right here. Boop, boop. Also, bow ties are cool. Just ask the doctor. Sometimes I like to do this and kind of go from the base up. Sometimes I can do it this way. Make sure I get every little crack and crevice. The rim still needs a little bit, so just go around the rim. I believe in being ready. I believe in being ready. One coat. Big broad strokes. You can also do it this way. Two coats. See, it's still a little splotchy, but there's quite a lot that's dry in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do the 3rd coat right now because I can, and it will be fine. I'm not putting on thin. I am giving it a pretty goodly amount of glaze. Hoping that's coming across in the video. Making sure that brush is loaded up pretty well. And getting the rim every time too. Three coats. So there it is. The brush gets washed in the sink. Try and get as much glaze out of it first as you can. Wash it and put it away where you got it. You can also wipe the outside of this, put the lid back on, make sure the lid is secured fully so that it doesn't pop off and damage anyone else. So we give that another little minute to dry, and then we'll clean up the bottom. So it's mostly dry. There are a few little spots on it, but it's mostly dry now. But rather than just sitting there just like waiting for it to dry, like I got stuff to do. That's good. That's like, this is fine right now. I can touch it. It's not coming off my hands. It's solidly attached to the pot. We're good. Let's do this. Do what you can in the moment. And sometimes this will leave a little stain around the whole thing. So rather than having a little difference, I'll just kind of use that glaze as a stain and kind of stain the whole bottom so that it's even, rather than having like a stained streak on one part and then the rest of it kind of raw clay. Different glazes do that. That's not going to stick to the bottom. There's hardly anything there, so like that's fine. But I'm looking for the, when I do it, I'm looking for the aesthetics of it, making sure, I want to make sure that it's even and that I'm okay with it. So there you go. That's a finished bottom. That's how you brush glaze onto a pot. Dipping is a lot faster because you just need to do it once or twice, but sometimes brushing is necessary. You can also have a little more control with the brush if you want. You can layer different things with a brush differently, so it's all up to you what you want. But that's a glaze bowl with a brush. Next one we're gonna get into wax resist in the next video.